Thanks, John. My absolute pleasure to be here. I have the fortune of having been involved in quantum since 2013 in the UK, and I just want to take the moment to just reflect that in 2013, quantum in the UK and globally was two probably senior gentlemen, a stale cupcake around an old conference room. So to see it look like this now today is absolutely fantastic. Also to see the value of photonics being brought forward in the day that we have today, being a photonics day reflecting quantum, is also key to my heart. I have a talk that's focused on the industrialization, the value of bringing forward a commercial offering with the quantum. But first I might just talk about photonics and copying maybe some things that other people have said already. I mean, I think it's fairly clear that photonics has a key role to play in quantum, no matter which modality you're looking at. Obviously, we'll be talking about photonic qubits, but what's amazing for me to see is that if you look at superconducting or if you look at ion trap computing, quantum computing, those platforms have in their roadmap photonics. So it's clear that photonics is not a vertical platform, it's a horizontal capability that will span across the whole of the quantum industry. And this maybe partly addresses some investor concerns. I know, investors talk to me and say, well, how do I know which platform to pick? I think that's not true for photonics, because it plays a role in every platform. It's got that cross-cutting capability. And the reasons for that are clear. It is only photonics that allows you to transmit quantum information over a distance of more than a few feet. Can't do it in any other platform. So when you're talking about larger scale quantum computers, it is only going to be photonics that connects those systems up. So Jeremy Bryan talked about 10 cabinets. It is only going to be a photonic network, a photonic link between those cabinets that allows quantum computers to scale up. So it's been demonstrated through the talks already, but I just want to really emphasize photonics is the key to scaling up of quantum computing. What's sort of so cool about photonics is this stuff. You can't see it, so I've got a picture of optical fiber. So optical fiber is, it's the cabling that carries internet traffic. We all use it. I don't think many of us realize how transformative this stuff, glass, high quality glass, is. This is the stuff that carries light around the world. It's also the stuff that can transmit quantum information with very, very low losses around any type of large scale quantum computer. That's well known, it's been talked about a lot today. I think what I also want to draw your attention to is the fact that optical fiber and light has this other amazing property, and that it has massive bandwidth, i.e. within one of these things you can have hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of frequency channels. Why does that matter? Well, we're talking about scaling up of quantum computers. It makes sense to leverage high density platforms and take advantage of your ability to control light over different frequency channels. So this stuff, optical fiber, is key. It's critical. It's also nice because it's very robust. I had the story from another quantum platform, not photonics, about you install a quantum computer and the next day you have a massive problem because your lift in the building is interfering with your quantum computer. Sounds like a big problem. Can you reinstall the lift? Yeah, of course you can if you've just spent $10 million on a quantum computer. Do you really want to? Of course not. Using light, this stuff doesn't interfere with electromagnetic radiation. This stuff allows your quantum computer to be in the building with your existing lifts and everything else without substantial investment in the infrastructure. And anyone who's worked with infrastructure knows that no one in infrastructure wants to change their infrastructure. So by using light, you can do all this cool stuff with quantum without it being a building scale project or an unimaginable hurdle to actually implement these technologies. So I've already talked about the fact that this stuff transmits light really well. Of course, I'm here to talk about the ability to use light to perform quantum computation. And the starting point is you have loads of photons, you have loads of frequency modes. But what's also critical to perform computations is obviously to manipulate those photons, those modes. And this is where I actually had a slide which didn't have any words because I wasn't sure exactly what the previous talk would talk about. But this is where we're really pushing the boundaries of existing semiconductor and existing telecoms componentry. So within Orca, we actually, over the new year, we acquired a company that has next generation semiconductors for photonic platforms. And what this allows us to do is to take our photons passing through this system and be able to manipulate those photons across time, frequency, and space, building up this incredibly exquisite platform that has a huge number of variables, a huge computational space, but without resorting to brute force. So this is our exciting platform for doing all of this stuff. What's key to doing it and what makes it very much beyond what's currently possible with semiconductors is the ability to do all this stuff with very, very low losses and very high speeds. So what excites me the most is that while we're doing all of the stuff we're doing in quantum, we're also presenting the next generation telecom components and networks. So this is all under the hood of what Orca's system looks like. You're essentially taking light and encoding information in it by performing operations on that light. But here's the slightly controversial point of my talk. This is what many people might think of when they think of a quantum computer. This or a golden chandelier. It's big science. It's really, really expensive stuff happening on a massive scale. And that is great, maybe, for governments and other things like this. But when I speak to customers or real users of quantum computing, they don't want this. They don't want systems that need constant maintenance or calibration by a team of PhD physicists. What they want is they want for systems to be installed in a premises, and obviously they want them to be performant, but they want them to just work. And especially if we start talking about the use of quantum computers inside of data centers, you ain't going to let loads of PhD students into your data center every day to recalibrate the thing. So there's a practical reality to quantum, which I feel is only starting to get up speed. So what Orca does is we strive to turn science, big science, Manhattan-style projects into a product. You know, people in product might not think that's a big deal, but by offering up quantum performance as something that is robust, can be deployed, does not require an army of PhD students, is in my mind everything. So I don't believe quantum will scale. Well, many factors. Businesses won't scale. There aren't enough PhD students to service these systems unless you can also accompany quantum with the robustness that customers want. So this is Orca's first product. It's our PT1. If you know Orca, you'll know that last year we deployed 4 of these systems with different customers worldwide. This year we'll install a further 5. And I always like to say, notice the present tense in those words. There's no, we're going to do this in this. These are systems which we've done. We have systems working in customer premises. Under the hood here, we have this robustness that's offered by our use of optical fiber and telecoms components. I also like to point out the fact that also critical to our customers is its ability to be upgraded. I won't pretend like this is the end goal for any customer. It doesn't even solve a problem that a classical computer can't solve. But what it is a starting point, and by the rest is our job. So every year with our customers, we offer upgrades. We make certain components better and better through the roadmap that we have, through the roadmap of physical qubits to error mitigated qubits to error corrected qubits. We do all of that, but we offer that as a constant recurring sort of product theme and an upgrade theme. And if this all sounds trivial, it is not to our customers. This is a practical reality, an ability to work with quantum, which we don't believe is sort of, apart from Orca, really, really present in the market. So the system is all well and good, but who cares about a system if it can't be used for anything? And I know there's been a long discussion already about sort of early stage applications, things like this. I mean, we confidently believe that there are early applications for quantum systems on the way to error correction. I'm certainly not going to pretend like error correction isn't the ultimate holy grail and the transformation of computing that we're all here for. But on the way, there are a number of different applications of applying quantum computers to existing classical workloads. Orca's been fortunate to work with a number of different partners, commercial partners, to work on those applications. We were co-organisers of the Digital Catapult QTAP program, which built the community, educated a number of industrial users about quantum computing and what it could be done. And with them, we sort of brought to reality how you work with a quantum computer, what type of algorithms are possible in this near-term regime, and to be honest, what are not. We're not of the belief that, and of course it's completely not true, that this near-term stuff is universal or that it's going to be useful for every area of machine learning. But what we do see is a number of important use cases where there can be some value created through incorporating a quantum system into computing systems today. And of course, for a company looking to get into quantum, that today part is everything. It's critical. Companies want a return on investment as soon as they can, and I think it's our job in the quantum industry and within Orca to help them achieve that. So you can see across here, we primarily apply a lot of our stuff to machine learning. The general sort of hand-wavy explanation is you take a big machine learning model, you explore whether you insert a quantum layer into that machine learning, what it can do. I say use those words carefully because half the time it's nothing or worse, but sometimes it's something. And the way to think about quantum is it almost provides a new function. It's not a direct replacement for existing parts of your neural network. It's a different way of doing it, which in some cases can provide a benefit. Quantum data, quantum statistics have particular properties that can be useful. So in some of these use cases, with some of these customers, we're finally starting to eke out the early wins that can be had. By the way, while we're all working towards this future, much larger opportunity. But in my belief, they are there and they're worth exploring. And I think to the final point that I have, it's not necessarily about the applications, it's not necessarily about the system, it's about the incorporation of the system and the realization of where quantum should sit. So a few years ago, Orca actually started, I think, one of Innovate UK's biggest quantum programs. It was called the Quantum Data Centre of the Future. And this was a project that started, I think it was 2.5 years ago now. And the reason we stumbled across that name is, and the project is, in my view, at that point, everyone in quantum was looking at your quantum thing as being a standalone. Like, here's your quantum thing. It looks a bit like a science experiment. Let's ignore the wider world of data centers, high-performance computing, and just focus on our quantum thing. I think back then, we realized that quantum isn't just a standalone thing. It's part of a wider ecosystem of infrastructure. And that's especially true if you want to eke out and find those very near-term applications, hybrid algorithms and the rest of them. So what Orca did is, of course, we delivered this practical product, this thing which is room temperature, it's rack-mounted and modular and upgradable and all the rest of it. But we really looked at how we would install that system into a data center. And of course, that comes with a practical reality. You've got to be able to wheel the thing in. It's got to be maintenance-free, and supported and that like. But also we identified, of course, this massive thing about software integration. And from that point onwards, we've actually been spending a lot of our time on working with existing workflow management programs and NVIDIA, how you can, from a practical point of view, integrate this system, this new way of doing things, into your existing workflows. So Orca is a partner with NVIDIA. You can operate our system through CUDA Quantum, which is pretty cool. In our view, it's great to be able to access that wider community of machine learning users who, by the way, probably don't want to learn like what quantum superposition is. They just want to have some cool tools, cool functions that they can go and use and incorporate into their products. So this is a slightly different world, and I'm proud of that. I do believe that quantum will reflect many of these changes, this more outdoory-like approach towards getting out there, installing real products. And in my view, that is the future of quantum. Of course, we're all super excited about what it can do, but how it does it in this practical reality is, in my view, also critical. So that was a very short introduction. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Richard. And in a consciousness of coffee being next door. But one question, you talked a lot about the leverage of existing components and fiber in particular, and how that has enabled you to pick off what people might call the low-hanging fruit on the way to bigger things. Does that also generate a market and a need for specialization as the previous standard components don't quite do what you need, and does that mean there's a market for people generating non-standard standard components?
Good question. Actually, a lot of my technical team really give me a hard time saying, well, we don't really work with off-the-shelf components because they're, I don't know what the right name is, specialist off-the-shelf components. They're the highest grade off-the-shelf components you can work with. And we're pushing the boundaries of the performance of those to become more and more high-end, more and more high-spec. I think for now it seems like we are becoming more and more specialist towards our quantum platform. But in some ways, maybe that's because the other use cases, the broader applicability of those components that we're developing haven't been found. I mean, I do speak to many people in telecoms and things, and they value, all these things we talk about very, very high speed, very low loss switches. There are companies now being built up of applying that to machine learning, big data connections between GPUs and obviously future telecoms. So I confidently believe what we're doing is building an amazing photonic quantum computer, but we're also laying the groundwork for the next generation of semiconductors and photonics, which is, the dream come true for a photonics guy, to be honest. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard.